Welcome back to Dark Discoveries. I am your host, Dustin, and I am here with
Jimbo.
And I'm Jackie.
In the flesh. She's
Woohoo!
back again.
I'm back, baby. And then I'm getting ready to start my next show.
She'd be leaving us again shortly.
I know. I was like, I just got back.
Is that the one in Indy that seems like it's going to be a pretty cool deal?
It's actually going to be in Indianapolis. It's going to be in Ohio, and it's going to be in Pennsylvania. So we are traveling.
That's
which is very cool. Yeah. It's going to be it's a pretty big deal. We're actually almost sold out with everywhere that we booked in Indy so far, which is pretty crazy.
Nice. So if you want to see Jackie in the flesh, the Edgar Allan Poe speakeasy tour.
Well,
yes,
not Jackie in her flesh. She will have clothes on.
Let's I will have clothes on,
Jimbo.
Although there might be someone's flesh available. Oh.
Head on over to Dark Discoveries OnlyFans.
I'll pay you $1 to put it back on. Good.
But sounds like by the time you hear this, it could be sold out. So if you're going to act fast.
Yes. Please. And we will probably have some really cool stories about Edgar Allan Poe, because this particular show is all based on true facts around his death. And it is better than a soap opera. Let me tell you, dude was obsessed with drama, and he was dramatic.
And wasn't he drunk in the alley in the last days and all that stuff?
There was all kinds of stuff. And if you come to the show, we cover all of it. And
the cousin part?
Yeah. Hey, guess who plays the 13-year-old cousin that he marries? Yes, he really did marry his 13-year-old first cousin, and she attested that she was 21 at the altar. But they didn't actually live together until she was 16. So he did at least wait till she was 16. Still creepy, though.
Different times, but I don't think it excuses it. But on that note, I'm going to take it. This is took a dark turn, which it probably fits this topic. So I am talking about the one, the only Murderous Mary. On September 13th, 1916, thousands of people gathered inside the railroad yard in the small Appalachian town of Irwin, Tennessee. They weren't waiting on a train. They weren't there to welcome home war heroes or watch a parade or celebrate some local holiday. They had come to witness an execution. The condemned had never stood before a judge. There had been no trial, no jury, no opportunity to appeal. There wasn't even a law explaining how the execution was supposed to be carried out. But the crowd had already reached its verdict. Guilty. The prisoner stood more than 11 feet tall and reportedly weighed close to 5 tons. Heavy chains restrained her legs, and another chain was fastened around her neck. In front of her waited a railroad-mounted industrial derrick powerful enough to lift a locomotive. Like we said, this prisoner's name was Mary. She was a performing elephant and one of the biggest attractions in the Sparks world's famous shows. But after the events of the previous day, newspapers and angry townspeople had given her another name. Murderous Mary. By the time she appeared in print, Mary's fate was practically sealed. Her owner faced threats that a circus would be banned from surrounding communities. Crowds demanded revenge. Reporters transformed a tragic death into a story about a bloodthirsty animal and a circus desperate to protect its business agreed to turn Mary's execution into her final public performance. This is the story of Walter Red Eldridge, an inexperienced handler who lost his life after spending barely a day working with elephants. It's the story of Mary, an animal that reacted violently after years of confinement and control. And it's a story of the Tennessee town that became known throughout the country as the place where they hung an elephant. And this is how it was supposed to be, just my whole long intro. Then I'm Dustin, and this is Jimbo, and I'm Jackie, and this is Dark Discoveries. That's how it was supposed to start, but we went off the rails.
Sorry.
Dustin dropped the ball. He dropped the ball.
This is what happens.
Well, just nothing ever goes according to plan. To understand Mary's story, we first need to understand the world in which she lived. In the early 20th century, traveling circuses were among the largest forms of entertainment in America. So long before television, radio, and social media, the arrival of the circus could become the biggest event the small town had all year. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. You got the circus at the National Guard Armory. Well, they didn't have probably National Guard armories back then, but you get the idea. The circus arrived by train, bringing in performers, musicians, acrobats, horses, lions, tigers, bears, and elephants. Colorful posters appeared on the walls on the fences the day before the show, so children would wait, beside the railroad tracks to get that first glimpse of the circus train. Businesses would close early. Schools would sometimes dismiss students, and early, and then entire families would line up on the streets to watch the parade. The parade wasn't simply entertainment, it was advertising. Performers marched through town in costume. Musicians played from decorated wagons. Exotic animals were displayed for people who might have otherwise never seen them. And at the center of many of these processions were elephants. Elephants represented everything the circus promised. Size, danger, the spectacle and glimpse of a world beyond the boundaries of their small town. What spectators didn't see is what happened between the performances. Circus elephants were transported for long periods of time inside railroad cars. They were frequently chained, confined, and they were trained through domination. Handlers commonly carried an ankus, A-N-K-U-S, I'm not sure what that is, better known as a bull hook, consisting of a handle with a pointed metal hook on the end. I think I got kind of an idea of it. The device pretty much
explain yourself, right?
The device could be used to direct the elephant, but it could also inflict considerable pain. The animals were expected to perform on command, to tolerate crowds, endure loud noises, and obey their handlers who might have little understanding on how elephants behave. Like we said, this guy had trained with her for one day. So Mary, almost her entire life, only knew this world. She was an Asian elephant associated with the Sparks world famous shows, the traveling circus operated by the Sparks family. She was advertised as one of the largest elephants in captivity and reportedly weighed about 5 tons. By 1916, she was one of the circus's greatest attractions. Mary could perform tricks, participate in parades. Some accounts claim she could play musical instruments and even throw a baseball. Whatever her exact routine, she was valuable, recognizable, and important to the show's success. Before September 1916, there was no reliable evidence that Mary had ever established a long history of killing people. I mean, she's just a circus elephant. She's not a stone cold killer. But after her death, stories would appear claiming she had killed several of her previous handlers. Sometimes they would say as many as 18. Those claims became part of the legend. They were not supported by dependable documentation or facts. Like many details surrounding Mary, they appear to have grown as newspapers, storytellers, and later generations repeatedly increased the dramatic versions of the events. What's more frightening is Mary could be made to sound the easier, it became to justify what happened to her. So I mean, you got to make up, like, we're going to hang an elephant. Well, you did kill 20 people, so you got to justify it. Man, I'm telling a pretty good story. I got Jimbo over here just staring at the camera.
I'm just going to say, I hope they found a tree with a big enough trunk. Boom, boom, shh.
Well, you didn't listen. They didn't.
I already listened. They had her tied to like a thing that's going to lift her.
On September 6th, or in September 1916, the Sparks Circus arrived in Kingsport, Tennessee. Kingsport was still a relatively young community, but industrial developments were expanding. The railroad system was transforming the area. They arrived when the circus arrived. They promised excitement, crowds, and business. Around the time the circus arrived, it hired a man named Walter Eldridge, commonly known as Red. Very little is known about Red's life. Some accounts described him as a hotel worker. Others call him a transient laborer who simply was just looking for employment. What appears consistent is he had little or no experience working with elephants. Hey, can you breathe? You got a job. You ever mess with an elephant? No? Well, it's not that hard. We'll teach you.
I saw one on TV once.
Remember it's 1916?
I know.
I heard about it. I seen one at a zoo one time. I know they're like people.
You're qualified.
You can handle it. You get an elephant. You get an elephant.
Speaking of that, how would you like to have that job when they do like the parades and stuff where the guy goes behind with a pooper scooper, and scoops up everything?
I was in Disney one time and Jafar
pooped.
Pooper scooper. He was scooping up the poop behind the horses. I was loving every minute of it. It was so hilarious. It was great.
A horse will just shit anywhere. They don't have, like, I think an elephant would at least wait, but who knows?
I don't know. And I bet it's the size of a freaking basketball.
My brother would say I'm 5 tons. I am not 5 tons. I know how big my bowel movements are, but imagine how big a 5-ton elephant's bowels movements would be.
Oh, guys, I've missed you. It's been fun. All right.
Poop jokes already.
I'm sure a elephant's shit could fill a swimming pool.
Speaking of that, no, do you guys remember or have you ever seen the sketch on the Carol Burnett show with Tim Conway where they're doing the Mama's Family thing and he talks about the Siamese elephants with their trunks getting stuck together? Dustin, if you haven't seen it, it is one of the funniest. It was the live comedy thing that they would do, and they're filming, and all the people are trying not to break character, and Tim Conway is just so funny in it. If you haven't seen it, audience, if you haven't seen it, please pull it up and watch it because it is one of the best things you'll ever see.
If Jimbo would edit and give me an ADD break, I would stop and watch it right now.
We don't have those.
Have those because that's for Kevin.
Yes.
On September 11th, Eldridge was hired to care for the animals. On September 12th, reportedly his second day on the job, he was placed in control of Mary. This decision was dangerous for everybody involved and probably around. The elephant can weigh several tons and poses enough strength to kill a person almost immediately. Working safely around one requires experience, patience, and understanding the movements and the warning signs. Instead, a new employee was handed a bull hook and placed in charge of the circus's most profitable, recognizable, probably most temperamental, and largest animal. During the circus parade through Kingsport, Eldridge either rode on Mary's back or walked close beside her. Accounts differ about his exact position and about how this happened after the parade. The most commonly reported or repeated version of the story says that Eldridge was leaning towards Mary in a watering area when she stopped to reach for a watermelon rind beside the road. Eldridge attempted to make her, continue to move. And according to a man named W.H. Coleman, who later claimed to have witnessed the incident, Eldridge struck or jabbed Mary behind the ear with the bullhook. Mary's reaction was immediate. She grabbed Eldridge with her trunk, lifted him and threw him violently to the ground, and then stepped on his head, killing him. Other accounts become considerably more graphic. One contemporary newspaper claimed that Mary lifted Eldridge into the air, slammed him down, and then drove her tusk through his body and trampled him. There was only one obvious problem with that description. Female Asian elephants genuinely do not possess the large, visible tusks described in the newspaper report. So we kind of know at this time, we talked about, I think, with H.H. Holmes, they call it like yellow journalism, is where they really started to over dramatize things and kind of take creative liberties to just get headlines. But this doesn't mean that Eldridge wasn't killed violently. It means that almost immediately fact and sensationalism became tangled together. Reporters were not simply describing what happened. They were creating an image of a raging, monstrous beast. The exact sequence will probably never be known.
So it might not have even been Mary at all. It could have been another elephant, right? How are you
What if he just tripped and fell?
Did they have more than one elephant?
I don't know, but I would say you probably have one or two elephant. You know what I mean? Because imagine you're going to have 5 tons on one elephant. That's a lot to feed, and that's 5 tons of cargo.
When I was a kid and they used to bring Ringling Brothers Circus downtown Indy, there'd be, I don't know, 6 to 8 elephants at least.
Well, that was the Ringling Brothers. This is the not. This is a little podunk circus going into Kingsport, Tennessee.
Oh, I thought you said Ringling Brothers. My fault.
No, it wasn't Ringling. It was. I have to go back up, but it's like Stark.
Oh.
Mary may have been startled. She may have reacted, from the pain from the bullhook, being shoved behind her ear. She may have been experiencing an untreated injury or infection. Because we know, gonorrhea and that stuff and syphilis will get into your brain and make you go crazy. Just look up Al Capone. A later story claimed a veterinarian discovered a badly infected tooth near the place where Eldridge had struck her. Although that detail is also difficult and probably impossible to verify, what we do know is Walter Red Eldridge died. His death was sudden, horrifying, and witnessed by members of the public. The people watching did not see an inexperienced employee placed in a dangerous job by the circus. They did not see years of confinement, forced performances, and physical control. They saw a man get killed by an elephant. And within moments, people began demanding that the elephant be killed. Mary did not continue attacking. She didn't attack the crowd. Most accounts indicate that she calmed down and was brought under control by other circus employees. She could be restrained, chained, or, separated from the public. Sure, a chain on a 5-ton elephant's probably not going to hold it. I'm going to say, if you look at an elephant, yeah, they're kind of fat, but if you're walking and moving 5 tons step by step, you probably got some pretty strong muscles. The immediate danger had passed, but the anger had not. People would reportedly shout, "Kill the elephant." A local blacksmith is said to have drawn a handgun and fired several shots at Mary. The bullets were either poorly placed or too weak to cause any serious injuries. Mary would survive and was taken back to the circus grounds. News of Eldridge's death traveled quickly. The newspapers understood exactly what kind of story they had. A giant circus elephant had killed a man in front of a crowd. It contained violence, danger, and an exotic animal, and the promise of revenge. They started sensationalizing Mary, just from being Mary the elephant to Murderous Mary. Reports described her vicious, savage, and uncontrollable. claims about previous victims began to circulate. The elephant that had spent years as a celebrated attraction was suddenly presented as a serial killer with a taste for human blood. Nearby communities reported warning the Sparks Circus that they would not allow them to perform if Mary remained with the show. This created a serious problem for the circus's owner, Charlie Sparks. Mary was valuable, but the entire circus was worth more. If communities refused to admit the show, Sparks could lose ticket sales, damage his reputation, and possibly destroy the remaining tour they kind of had set up. Sparks now had to choose between protecting Mary and protecting his business. And ultimately, you know what they say, it's either you or me, and I'm going to win. And Mary lost this battle. Under pressure from the public and concerned about the financial survival of the circus, Sparks agreed that Mary would be executed. It would not happen quietly or privately. Her death would be carried out where people could see it. The same public spectacle that made Mary valuable now would be used to destroy her. So, how do you execute an elephant? Agreeing to kill a 5-ton elephant's one thing. Figuring out how to do it's another. Several methods were reportedly considered, although some were more colorful, had more colorful descriptions. They may have grown, like the story of Mary, through later storytelling. Shooting Mary would require powerful rifles, experienced marksmen. A poorly placed shot could wound her without killing her, potentially causing a panic, creating an even more dangerous situation. Plus, you want to be humane about this. I think even back then you want to be humane. Poison was unreliable. Do you know how much poison it'd probably take to kill a 5-ton elephant? Probably about that same, pool full of shit. Probably need that much arsenic or something. Mary might refuse to eat it. And you're going to force a pill down a elephant's
Yeah, you just cover it in peanut butter. Or you put it in a watermelon because she was going for those watermelon rinds.
Good.
There you go.
Not that I have any experience killing elephants, I'm just saying, or poisoning animals.
Sounds like you're trying. You know what? Every time I go to your house, Jimbo, I've never seen a stray dog or cat. So
it's true. But we've ate pretty good.
Not eating in your house.
It's like my aunt said, have you ever seen a stray cat at a Chinese restaurant? Or a dog? No. Mary might refuse to eat, the watermelon rind Jimbo's trying to give her. And nobody would really know how much poison you would need to kill an animal of her size. Electrocution had been used to kill other circus elephants, notably Topsy in New York in 1903. But Irwin allegedly lacked the electrical capacity needed to carry out a similar execution. The answer was found approximately 35 miles away from Kingsport, Tennessee. The town of Irwin contained a major railroad yard operated by the Carolina, Clinchfield, and Ohio Railway. Inside the yard, they had a railroad-mounted derrick capable of lifting around 100 tons. It was normally used to move locomotives and heavy railway equipment, but someone decided it could also be used to hang an elephant. Mary was loaded into the rail car and transported to Irwin. There were reports that the circus offered the town performance in exchange for access to the crane. Other versions suggest the railroad employees agreed to help because members of the community also wanted Mary killed. The precise negotiations remain unknown, but we do know on September 13th, 1916, one day after Walter Elridge's death, Mary arrived in Irwin and the circus had moved quickly. There had been no meaningful investigation into whether Elridge had been struck, whether Mary had been injured, whether she could have been safely relocated, or whether the circus itself was responsible for placing an untrained employee in charge of her. We don't need to know the facts. We just need answers. The public wanted an execution, and that's what they got. The circus just wanted the controversy to end. The rail yard was, happy to provide the equipment, and that was pretty much all they need. If I know anything about circuses and executions and controversy, is most jails or prisons back in this time, probably a little bit before 1916, they would usually sell tickets to an execution. So I'm sure Stark was somehow compensated. But 1916, you think news would travel a little slow and he could just leave and probably just blow off the towns he was supposed to go to next and go out a little bit further out towards the West Coast and just start over without killing his elephant. News of the planned execution had spread throughout Irwin and the surrounding communities. An estimated 2,500 people gathered around the Clinchfield Railway Yard. Some stories claim children were released from school so they could attend. This detail is, widely repeated, but likely many elements of Mary's story, it's going to be difficult to prove again. But what is not disputed is that a large crowd came to watch. Men, women, children stood around the yard as workers prepared the derrick. Circus employees brought Mary toward the tracks. Imagine the scene from Mary's perspective. She had been transferred all the way from the circus ground. She was surrounded by unfamiliar equipment, shouting spectators, railroad workers, and handlers carrying, the chains and pulling her around, and the smell of coal and, the smoke would fill the air from the locomotives. A massive steel crane was erected and towered over her. Mary had no understanding of trials or punishment or revenge because she was an elephant. She could not understand why humans had fed her, transported her, forced her to perform, and were now fastening a chain around her neck. Chains were secured to her legs to control her movement. Another heavy chain was wrapped around her neck and attached to a hook on the railroad derrick. There was no gallows designed or big enough to support an elephant. There was no tested procedures. The workers were improvising an execution in front of thousands of people. When everything appeared ready, the crane began to lift. So we're about to start our first attempt at hanging an elephant. As the derrick pulled upward, Mary's enormous body began to rise. But according to most, the widely repeated account, one of the chains attached to her leg had not been released from the railroad track. The neck chain pulled upward while the leg chain held her down. The strain became too great, and the chain around Mary's neck snapped. Mary would fall back to the ground. Some accounts say she dropped several feet. Others claims the fall broke or badly injured her hip. The crowd scattered as Mary crashed near the tracks. The first attempt on executing Murderous Mary had failed. At that moment, the people responsible could have stopped. Mary was injured, restrained, and no longer capable of threatening the community. A vegetarian might have, ended her suffering quickly.
You mean a veterinarian, not a vegetarian?
A veterinarian. I was like, where am I going with this with a vegetarian? What are they going to do? Eat all the lettuce from us if you can't eat it? But today, if you eat lettuce, you're just going to get the shits. The entire spectacle could have been called off. Instead, the workers obtained a stronger chain. They wrapped it around Mary's neck and they prepared to try again. The derrick lifted her a second time. Mary's body rose above the rail yard tracks until her feet were no longer on the ground. Reports differ on the exact height, but she may have been suspended between 10 and 15 feet in the air. A 5-ton elephant hung from the crane while thousands watched. Unclear exactly how long it took for her to succumb. Some reports say she was left hanging for approximately half an hour to make sure that the deed had been completed. A photograph was taken showing the crane, the crowd, and what appears to be Mary's large body suspended above the rail yard. This picture became one of the most disturbing images in circus history. The authenticity and details surrounding the photograph have been questioned. Copies were retouched, reproduced, and making it difficult to determine precisely what appeared in the original image. But Mary's execution itself is not a legend. On September 13th, 1916, a circus elephant was hanged from a railroad crane in Erwin, Tennessee. Afterwards, Mary's body was lowered and examined. She was buried somewhere near the rail yard, although the precise location remains to have never been conclusively established. The circus would go on to continue its tour. But what happened to Red? Well, he was killed. We know that. In retelling of his story, Walter Elridge sometimes disappears almost completely. He becomes a little more than the trainer Mary killed, a nameless character needed to begin the story, but Elridge's was also a victim. He may have been inexperienced, but that does not mean he deserves to die. He had reportedly been working with Mary for only a day or two. He may have been desperate for employment and accepted a position without understanding the danger he was putting himself in. The circus placed a new worker in charge of the 5-ton animal and apparently, like I said, gave him a bull hook as his primary method of control. If Elridge struck Mary, he may have been following the training methods that he had been taught. He may have not had understood how sensitive the area behind the elephant's ear could be, or how quickly the situation could become fatal. It's easy to turn Elridge into the villain who abused Mary, but it's equally as easy to turn Mary into the monster who murdered Elridge. The truth is far more complicated. Both were placed in a dangerous situation by an industry that valued performances and ticket sales way more than they cared about safety. Elridge paid for this failure with his life, and Mary paid for it with hers the following day. But was Mary a murderer? That nickname makes this story easy to sell. It suggests intention. It creates the image of an animal that understood what murder was, made a conscious decision to commit, and deserved a human-style execution. But animals don't act according to human criminal law. Mary did not understand that killing Elridge would result in her punishment. She did not understand that the crowd demanded revenge. She could not defend herself, explain whether she was in pain, or describe how she had been treated. She just reacted, and that reaction killed a man. And the danger posed by the elephant of her size was real. The circus could not simply return her to a parade the following afternoon and pretend like nothing happened. I'm pretty sure if you went back and looked at like Barnum and Bailey, they probably would have just put it back in line and just been like, shit happens, but we're good today. Mary could have been permanently removed from the public performances. She could have been transferred to another place. She could have been examined for illness or injury. If authorities concluded that she could not safely remain alive, she could have been euthanized without transforming her death into public entertainment. Instead, the circus selected a method designed not only to kill Mary, but to demonstrate that punishment had been delivered. The hanging satisfied the crowd, allowed the Sparks Circus to continue traveling. Calling Mary a murderer also shifted attention away from the people responsible for the conditions that produced the tragedy. And that's the important part right there. They were able to take the blame off of themselves and place it on the animal. So I can keep going, but I think you guys probably want to hop in and tell a story of your own.
I just don't understand why. Number one, he probably sold tickets to the execution too. I would say, right, to recoup some of his money.
Yeah, you're not gonna execute the elephant and not get something in return. You're gonna get a payday. They're carnies.
Yep. I don't know why they just didn't like shoot her with tranquilizer darts and then just dump her in a river or something. It'd be a lot quicker.
You'd have to lead her into the water and then shoot her, and
Not necessarily. You put her, you shoot her with a tranquilizer dart, then just scoop her up with a backhoe or something.
1916. You'd have to walk her to the water.
You get the strong man from the circus and the bearded lady, and they lift her up and throw her over a bridge.
If a 5-ton elephant don't want to do something, I'm pretty sure you're not going to move it. But it's sad. I mean, here you take an animal, you get in that area now and you get people with bears is a big thing. So this is your public service announcement for this episode. If you're in a place like the Great Smoky Mountains or wherever, and a bear is in the area, don't go try to feed it. Don't go try to pet it, because bears that have human interactions end up being euthanized. They're wild animals. We have invaded into their territory. Let them just be animals. Don't go.
I wonder how big zoos were back then.
I don't know. Like I said, it was probably one of those. I mean, you're coming in a time where, money's starting to really pick up, the roaring 20s, you're in the teens, you're probably getting to post World War I. So people are seeing things across the world. They're probably starting to develop. Let's take a little ADD break here. And
that we don't have.
How many zoos were there in the United States in 1916?
Is that what you said?
I keep muting my mic because there is a insane storm going on outside right now at my window.
Oh, don't need to tell me about insane storms today. I've already had my fair share. I keep hearing it. I think you guys can hear the thunder rolling through my area.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't give me a lot, but it does tell me there's no exact historical count recorded for every municipal or private animal collection in the U.S. in 1916. Although major public zoos like the Philadelphia Zoo, the Central Park Zoo, and the Bronx Zoo are among a few dozen established urban facilities. They're probably not a lot, but interesting,
Yep.
Had to get something a little bit dark. We've been not focusing on the dark aspect, the dark discoveries enough.
Yep. Nothing like a murderous elephant, right?
I wonder if she was related to Jimbo the elephant. Hey guys, Jimbo the elephant.
And you just alienated almost all of our listeners because people probably don't know who that is.
If you don't know who Jimbo the elephant is, look up the Bob and Tom show, and you will find Jimbo the elephant.
All right.
Am I kicking it to Jimbo or am I kicking it to Jackie?
Or are you done with this episode?
Has it been long enough to just say screw it? And
well, it's about you're about 40 minutes in right now, buddy.
And you didn't even badger me that much. You should have been badgering.
I've been on my best behavior tonight.
I don't need you on your best behavior. I need you to what makes downloads.
Well,
talking about Jackie showing skin, and you're just sitting there.
Well, maybe we should kick it over to Jackie and see if she has a missing child, since that is something that we have been neglecting since she's been gone, and she is like our rock and our main focus of the missing children. So, Jackie, do you have a missing children or child from, I guess, Tennessee or New York or wherever Dustin said?
I found one in Colorado. We are looking for Cecilia Manjan Pederzia, and I probably butchered her name, so I will make sure that we get this up. So she's been missing since June 25th of 2025 out of Aurora, Colorado. She's currently 15 years old. Any information regarding her can be called into the Aurora Police Department at 303-627-1414. 3100. She is missing child case number 257319. And you can submit a tip through the Missing and Exploited Children's case, or you can go through 1-800 The Lost. We will put up her information on our social medias. Unfortunately, they do not have much on how she went missing or where she went missing. So anything we can do to help and raise awareness so that Miss Cecilia can get home safe.
Very good. Well, I think I'm going to hold off on my story till another episode, Dustin, because, I just want to, mine's so bizarre and weird that, what else do you expect from when I bring something, right?
Hanging an elephant.
Do what?
You can't follow hanging an elephant.
Oh, well, you wait and see, buddy, because mine's very, very interesting. So, but I guess until next time, just remember, the deeper you dive,
The darker it gets.